Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds back again, talking rookie wide receivers in our third segment of rookie wide receivers. We got a lot to talk about here. Like one of my favorite receivers in this class, like Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota.
Oh, Kadarius Toney out of Florida.
And there's one guy that I like quite a bit more than you two.
If you stick around to the end, you'll hear about how I hate chocolate.
That's the dumbest thing.
Unbelievable. Who can trust somebody that doesn't love chocolate?
I like chocolate cake.
Get out of here.
Receivers!
Not good enough.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson.
I'm Matt O'Hara.
And I'm Gary Price.
And we're here to talk rookie wide receivers again in segment number 3 of rookie wide receivers.
Segment looks like, number 2.
No, because we did the Nerd Herd episode was segment number 2.
Oh, okay. That's how you're counting it. I was thinking like 1, 2, 3 for the 3 weeks.
No. This is segment number 3.
So we're doing 6 segments.
Six segments on receivers.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
There's a lot of wide receivers.
We've cleared it up.
Yep.
We're the human centipedes of receiver talkers. That's what we're doing here. You know where we're going.
I hope we're not going there.
Oh, let's get it. So I feel like this week we're going to have a lot more discussion and debate here about guys we like and we don't like. I came away with an initial impression here going, this class is extremely deep at receiver. Well, the group of guys we're talking about this week does not add to that super deep class to me.
There's a few guys that are pretty good.
There are some few guys. There are a few guys here and there in this group.
A few guys.
But not like the first episode we did last week. It felt like we ended up liking like 5 of the 6 guys.
Yeah.
We liked almost all of them. And then this week
I feel like there's a lot of guys here we're going to talk about pretty solid NFL players. It's from a dynasty aspect, I'm not overly in love.
I think we also disagree a little bit more this week, which is fun because last week we just agreed so much that, I mean, we were probably right, but
a lot of disagreement. and I said, I put on Twitter, like I said, I keep coming back. Last week we talked about Nico Collins, wide receiver out of Michigan. He keeps just rising in my ranks as I watch more tape. He rises up because I'd rather take him. Right now I have Nico Collins probably high second round in 1 QB, mid second round super flex rookie draft. So we're going to see when it's all said and done. So what we're going to do is this week of receivers, next week of receivers, and then after that it'll be right before the NFL draft. We'll do a mock draft pre-NFL draft. Then we'll talk about the draft, and then we'll do another mock draft after the draft.
Another one.
Can't wait. Then we're into the summer, and then we're going to be breaking down divisions and all kinds of evergreen episodes. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about our friends at Dynasty Depot. Go to dynastydepot.com right now. Use that promo code NERDS, and you get their yearly membership for $14.99. And you may say to yourself, Rich, why do I need to go to dynastydepot.com? Why do I got to use the promo code NERDS? And why am I paying $14.99? Well, let me tell you. Because you have an opportunity to make some cash. Dynasty Depot is kind of like eBay for dynasty teams. It gives you an opportunity to bid, buy, and sell FFPC teams on dynastydepot.com. FFPC is a high-stakes dynasty league where they've never had a league fail ever. So there's tons and tons of dynasty leagues on there. And what it does is allow you to flip dynasty teams for profit or just let you get out from under your dynasty team without walking away from a league and getting some money back. And also offers an opportunity to win some great prizes. Like every week you get onto their leaderboard and it puts you in a position to win a chance to play in a high-stakes championship game where you can win $500,000 FFPC championship game. It'll let you play to win $500,000. And everybody's entered into that by playing week in and week out. Dynasty Depot offers that opportunity. So this is just a really good spot to expand your dynasty game. If you love playing dynasty fantasy football and you want to get into more leagues, Dynasty Depot gives you that opportunity. And just by going on there, again, go on there, see what teams are for sale. If you like one, sign up, use that promo code NERDS, make a bid, and get it. Maybe you can get into a $1,000 league for $200, and then you get a big discount year one, and you can flip it. Maybe you can find a championship caliber team, and you feel like you can win right away, get your money back, and then make some money in year 2. A lot of opportunity here at dynastydepot.com. I really encourage all our listeners to go out there and check it out. Use that promo code NERD. I love it. I promise you'll love it too. And this gives you an opportunity to play in as many dynasty leagues as you want to. And more importantly, get out from the leagues you don't want to play in no longer that you don't want to as well. dynastydepot.com, promo code NERDS. Now, let's get into these receivers. To start off, we're going to talk about my favorite receiver we're actually going to be talking about out of all the receivers in this episode
Both episodes?
and the next episode, and that's Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota. 6 foot, 190 pounds, kind of came in a little bit smaller than a lot of people anticipated. Really digging into his tape, though, like digging into it without casually watching, because when you watch it casually, you're like, oh, he's 6'2", 200 pounds. You just, okay,
Yeah.
so dig it in, you're like, oh, he's 6 foot, 190 pounds. Yeah, that makes sense. It looks that way.
It does. He does look smaller than, I think he was listed almost at 6'3" at some point, correct? I mean, like his freshman year.
He might have.
Like
Yeah, he's
Coming out
shrunk.
of high school, he was
Yeah.
listed at 6'3".
Somebody showed me the progression, and he just kept shrinking and shrinking. By next year, he's going to only be like 5'9".
Benjamin Button over here.
So,
I shrunk the Bateman. Oh, man.
you can definitely tell he's not a.
Where's Rick
He's not a
Moranis?
6'2", 250 pound
Yeah,
guy.
but he's smooth. I think the best comp I heard, and I can't get on my, like Garrett gave it to him a couple weeks ago, was the Keenan Allen comp. I think that's a fantastic comp for a guy like Rashod Bateman, and that's his ceiling. He could beat Keenan Allen, and it would not surprise me in the least bit. I think Rashod Bateman's a very safe player. I think he's going to have a very solid NFL career. I think he's going to be a very solid wide receiver for your team. I think worst case, he's a wide receiver 3 for your dynasty team, which is still somebody you're going to start on a week in, week out basis. This is a guy who opted out of the 2020 season because of COVID, but then decided to come back when Big Ten decided they were going to play. So he came back, had 36 receptions, 472 yards, led the team in touchdowns with 2, but then the Wisconsin canceled the game due to COVID, and he opted back out to declare for the draft.
So he only got 5 games in. So, I mean, to have 472 yards in only 5 games, you have to have some degree of skill. So
Right, especially when he wasn't prepping for the season like the rest of the team was. It was like last second, like, oh, sure, I'll play.
And his 2019 tape looks better than his 2020 tape.
And
But a lot of players look like that.
And that was the big thing that I saw. There was times he almost looked disinterested in 2020. So it sends up a little bit of a red flag for me. I don't know why a player would come back and then look the way he did on film in 2020, because there were some times where he looked like he just kind of didn't care if he was there or not. And that's odd to me. And that is always going to send up a red flag. I don't know if you guys saw that and it bothered you as much as it bothered me, but there are definitely things to like about him. So it's hard to evaluate and just put, just say 2020 is this player, because I know he's done better things in 2019. I went back and watched some of that stuff, and he looked more explosive. He looked more crisp, I felt like, and more consistent. So Rashod Bateman's a guy that I'm holding out, I guess, some hope that the 2019 stuff is more indicative of his future instead of the stuff that I saw in 2020.
And I don't think you're wrong there. And it going into the season, before he decided to opt back in, it was really between him and Chase who was going to be my top wide receiver, and I was leaning Bateman. Like, I really, really liked his tape. I mean, he gets off the line extremely well. One of the things that he does is he sets up a pattern of movements, whether it's a run or pass. Like, he would do it consistently, he would really throw guys off with that, because they think it's a pass play. Like, he was very technically sound, used his hands really well to get open. Like, he does a lot of the little things right. There's enough speed and enough explosiveness, enough size, not as big as we thought. We talked about that.
Right.
But I am with you, because I remember having him at the tippy top of my wide receiver rankings. And then his first game back, I was so excited to watch him, because I was like, man, now Tyler Johnson's not even here. Like, they don't even have anyone else to throw to. Like, he's gonna feast. And I watched the first game, and I was like, man, that wasn't the coming out part I expected, but it was the first game back. Like, let's see. In the next couple of games, like, he did get progressively better as the season went on, but he still never looked like quite the same player he did in 19. So I don't know if, not being able to prepare for the season like he would have normally, threw things off. Tanner Morgan had a much worse year too, the quarterback, than he did this season before.
Right.
So, like, there was just, and that's going to be the tough part with all of these guys. Like, last year was an anomaly, period. No, regardless of what player you were, last year was an anomaly of all of the weird stuff that happened.
And it's an anomaly in that respect, but it's also an anomaly that none of these guys had the same experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's hard. You're watching these SEC guys who are cruising through the year and looking great, and like they almost never took the foot off the gas pedal as far as preparation. I know they did somewhat, but they had a full season.
And then USC had what, like 2 games, 3 games?
2 or 3 games or something. Yeah, so it is very, every single person or every single player and every single program had a unique kind of year as well. So nobody's on the same footing, which makes our job, the evaluation process, even more difficult, I feel like.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, Bateman still, I have him right around my top 5, right around number 5 for overall receivers. I have him right behind Jalen Waddle. I can honestly see me having Elijah Moore pass him, though.
Sure.
But 2020 was okay. So I went back. But it's weird, too, because in 2020, they used him, for the most part, in the slot.
In the slot, right.
And in 2019, he looked outside. So he did look significantly better on the outside than he did in the slot, which is where we want to see him. But you mentioned he gets off the line really well. Some of the best hands in this class.
Yep.
Honestly, he has great jump ball ability. I mean, there was a pass that he versus Purdue game that I saw. Like, he jumped up, grabbed the ball, turned around. The Purdue defender was literally grabbing his arms, and Bateman caught it in his face mask and still held on to the ball.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic. He gets in and out of his breaks so
Very smooth.
smoothly, and he can run the full route tree. I mean, this guy, to me, is an NFL caliber player. And, I mean, he made some great jump ball catches.
Yep.
He made some great hand catches. Very fluid, very smooth.
The one-handed catch down the sideline. Did you see that one?
I did see that. It's part of my the highlight reels here for him.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just he's got enough in open field where he can elude defenders. So I think he's a very safe player.
I think
with
so,
a
too.
with a high ceiling of like a Keenan Allen. The guy that kind of surprises you that, oh, he's wide receiver 8 this year. Like, oh, what a surprise. Like, I'm very intrigued where Bateman's going to end up. Who's going to be paired up with, And
I do think he's a slightly better athlete than Keenan Allen. I don't think he's as technically proficient at this point in his career.
That's the thing. I think he's he's not quite as precise in his routes as Allen. And I don't.
But he has time.
He does. He absolutely does. He has plenty of time. I would love him in an offense where there isn't a lot of other weapons and that he can get a lot of volume. I think that from that standpoint, like a
opposite Devontae Adams.
Maybe even a less talented person than that opposite him.
You want him to be the leading target.
I want him to be the leading target guy because I think that's his route to being fantasy relevant, like more fantasy relevant as opposed to being a number 2 to a Devontae Adams, where
at this point, like the
he's
only
picking
team
up scraps.
The hard part is the only team left is like Houston,
Miami, Houston, New England.
Yeah, New England could maybe as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's some places we'll
take
see.
Devontae Parker in Miami.
That's true. In my mind, they've already taken either Chase or Devonta Smith.
That's the problem.
I think that's why in my mind
Smith.
they've already got their guy. But you're right; they haven't taken them yet.
But he's going to be that guy that's going to be a very solid receiver in the NFL. I like him. I think in a 1 QB league, I feel really comfortable with him anywhere from pick 7 to 8. That's why I have Kyle Pitts ahead of all these guys because he's just the higher ceiling guy. And I think we're looking at Jalen Waddle. Like, looks like he offers the highest ceiling of anybody. And then you got two guys that are really talented and I think really safe in Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith. So then after that, it's like, who's your guy? Some people have Rondale Moore as their guy. I haven't dug into Elijah Moore deep, but from the casual watching him so far, like I could see me liking him more than Bateman. And I can see them flip-flopping on their landing ability. They're so close for me. It depends where they're going to end up and what scheme they're going to be in. Like Matt said, who they competing for targets, Could he be the Calvin Ridley to Julio Jones? Something along those lines. Where are they going to go?
At this moment, Rashod Bateman is my wide receiver 3, but it's super, super close all the way from 3 to 6 with him, Moore, Waddle, and then Elijah Moore. All 4 of them are really close. And so I will be doing like I still need to do my second round of Elijah Moore because he's next week. I need to do a second round on Jalen Waddle. He's next week. So even by next week, he could drop a couple spots. He could
be down at 5 or 6.
So
and I feel like that's kind of where
really close.
Yeah, that's kind of where he's going to end up that's right now where he feels like he's going to end up 5 or 6.
That's where I have him.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, for Waddle, like Waddle's the kind of person we're going to talk about him next week, but we're actually going to kick off the show with Jalen Waddle next week. And he's somebody that's just, that juice is absolutely worth the squeeze. I would swing at that pitch and miss and feel no shame about it whatsoever because he offers the highest ceiling of anybody here. So, but we're going to talk about him next week. Right now, I think we all feel the same, right around wide receiver number 5 in a strong class. So it's not a terrible spot for Bateman. Good upside, good floor. Kind of guy you get at number 7, you're like, I feel good about it. I feel like I came away with a solid player. That could be a high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 3, with maybe in the right offense some wide receiver 1s year if he gets enough targets, like you mentioned, because he's so safe with his route run in his hands. He could end up being Keenan Allen, who's had multiple wide receiver 1 finishes.
Correct.
So we all like Rashod Bateman so far, but nobody's like falling over their seats.
Yeah,
out of their seats.
Over their seats,
just out of their seats, under their seats.
I wish he would have just stayed put because his 19 tape was wonderful. But yeah, he hurt himself this year.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like it's such a hard evaluation process. It just he almost I don't know. He looked lazy at times to me, like just disinterested, like I said,
yeah,
and that's a bummer to see because I think he's more talented than that. But it also sends up a red flag,
which is funny because you could tell the work he puts in to be like really technically sound. So yeah, I'm having a hard
I'm sure
time.
the whole COVID situation, the Big Ten situation, canceling games, quarterback situation being a down thing. He's just probably like, why did he even come back?
Right, and I wish he just didn't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like just don't. Yeah.
Nico Collins,
because then it was just 19 tape.
I'm just not coming back.
Right, we're evaluating some of these guys on just 19 tape. You know, like obviously Chase.
Terrible.
Yeah, I mean
Chase.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it might have been the prudent move, but who knows?
Let's move on, shall we?
Move on.
Let's talk about Kadarius Toney out of Florida, 5'11", 193 pounds, and this was a guy because after like my first impression of Toney, like for me personally, was the Senior Bowl, and the Senior Bowl was a disaster. I mean, the guy was dropping balls left and right, so I'm like, this guy's hands are gonna be terrible. Then I dive into his tape. I'm like, this guy's hands are pretty solid.
Yeah, the tape it tells a different story than the Senior Bowl for sure.
He might have just had the yips, or I don't know.
He's a raw receiver as well because he was a quarterback in high school. He didn't even play wide receiver. He was one of those dual threat quarterbacks in high school. So but to me, when I watched him as well, is what he did at Florida is what he's going to want. I want to see him in the NFL level. Like he's going to need like a star around him, right? Like he had Pitts at Florida, kind of help him out here. And I think he's going to be very important to where he goes scheme-wise for Kadarius Toney. But he's pretty fun to watch. I mean, he's electric off the line.
For sure.
His release off the line it's up there. Like when you think of top guys at NFL level, guys like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, guys that get off the line. Well, Kadarius Toney gets off the line extremely well.
He is explosive.
Very
I think
explosive.
His speed off the line is very good. The hard part is it's hard to always evaluate him because he's not getting a lot of press coverage.
He's not.
So,
True.
So it's tough to know like how well is he getting out. But as far as the burst off the line, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah. So his burst off the line is very well. He's not as technically sound like the way Devontae's off the line.
Right.
His burst, let me say, his burst is off the line.
I agree with you in that sense. Yep.
But I mean, he was used around gadget, ends around. He was used out of the back, even though he's a little smaller. He was used out of the backfield a couple times. I love when he gets the ball in his hand. His open field vision was very, very high quality there. I really liked him with the ball in his hands. He could break some tackles there as well. He plays a little bit of physical because for a guy that's only 193 pounds, he plays pretty physical.
I mean, 193 pounds. I mean,
at his height,
5'11", and that's not. It's not overly. I mean, there's definitely smaller guys. There's gluteus minimus that's in this.
True, that is really true.
That's, but I mean, and he's probably similar weight. But it's not that bad, especially for a wide receiver. And I feel like he wears it well, and he's one of these guys that moves so quickly that guys aren't taking big hits on him for the most part.
He's so flexible when he moves. It's like the paper blowing in the wind. You know what I mean? Like there he is. He's just blowing in the wind.
He's a very fun watch. Right now he is currently my wide receiver 8 at a 74.93. So he has a pretty solid score there in this class. I did still see, even though I was definitely more impressed with his hands on tape than I was at the Senior Bowl, I still saw several cases of double catching the ball. And so that does make me a little bit nervous. Like, yes, he did end up coming down with it, but it wasn't a clean catch off the rip, which does make me nervous because when you give second opportunities like that, the DBs, the safeties, the linebackers are much faster. That's when you see a lot of pass breakups and things like that if you're not catching it cleanly the first time.
And here's the thing. He's such a raw prospect. He's not a great route runner, but he is so quick in and out of breaks or just bursty that he gets separation based off of that. Like he doesn't have to be the cleanest route runner to get separation. Right. So even if he
almost does too much with his routes.
He dances. I
I
have a lot of here to talk bad about.
It's kind of almost like he's like setting up a punt return. I don't know what he's pausing in midair and like doing
I think
wasting time.
I would be shocked.
Yes,
I would be shocked if he doesn't play basketball. He reminds me of a point guard with a lot of the hesitation moves and things like that. Like I'd be shocked if he doesn't play basketball because I see a lot of that type of movement out of him.
I agree with that. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, once you say that makes total sense. But I guess my whole point, the long-winded point was, I think he's, even if he double catches it, he's going to get separation. I think even at the NFL level, he's
Very
still quick enough to get separation and be able to kind of overcome a double catch here.
I think NFL coaching will take that, his freestyling out of there a little bit as well. Concerns here is he had a lot of injuries in 2017 and 2019, so he had some injuries there. Only one season
of real production.
That was last year, opposite of a guy like Kyle Pitts. His routes are less to be than desired.
Yeah, they leave a lot to be desired for sure.
So to me, he seems like somebody that where I like it. I like him, and I can see the upside there. I can also easily see Kadarius Toney being a guy that helps the NFL team. Very solid guy, more like a wide receiver 3 than a wide receiver 2 on an NFL team. I could see that. I do envision him as a wide receiver 2. Like I said, I actually came away more impressed with
I was too.
He
had a higher score than I thought he would.
And out of a lot of the guys here, like I would put him above a lot of them. You said wide receiver 8. That's fair. Like there's other guys I'm like, okay, where Watkins, Collins, like where does he fall in that mix? But he's up there. Like he's a high second round pick here because he does offer some really good upside with the ball in his hands.
I mean,
he could be electric.
I think he's going to be above Watkins for me, and I like Watkins. So
I have him one spot above.
Yeah,
Watkins.
but I just think it's it's the level of competition that he faced there at Florida, and just like the fact that he threw together almost a 1,000-yard season here, led the team and everything like that.
One last negative for Toney that I did see that was interesting, and I saw it specifically. I'm trying to remember which 2 games that I saw it the most. I want to say it was LSU and one other game, but he does not, for somebody that is so quick, so fast, so quick twitchy, that sometimes he does not have the body control that I've seen some of these other guys have.
100%. I was going to say that as well, and I forgot to. Go ahead.
Yeah, you see at times
Turf
he kind of
monster.
Exactly.
Tripping over his own feet.
His feet are moving faster than his brain can process it. Like, that does concern me the slightest bit. It's not the end of the world.
Just falling over when you change direction, like in a route and stuff like that.
Right. I think it goes back to my point of him being like raw as a prospect. Maybe only playing a position for pretty much 3 years.
Maybe, but when you see some of these other guys, and that might not have the talent or ceiling, but are, like Devonta Smith is just so smooth. Like you never see him out of control. Even a guy we're going to talk about next round, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another guy that's like just always in control of his movements, never feels like he's, rushing or forcing anything. Sometimes it just feels like he's playing in fast forward and he can't keep up with himself.
I agree.
Which is, it's not a red flag, but it is something to keep in mind.
I'm glad you made that point. It's just like a guy. He just kind of seems like he's got 2 left feet at times.
He
on
does.
the dance floor. You know what I mean? Like
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very odd for a guy that quick, that explosive.
I could see him having a Curtis Samuel type of career role. I think that would be a good fit for him at the next level.
I think Curtis Samuel's an overall better athlete than Kadarius Toney.
Could be.
What's weird too is like sometimes when you watch Toney like run his routes, like you think him only playing position for 3 years, it looked like he was thinking where he's real fast when he'd actually like run his best routes, like he'd be slow, like he'd slow down a little bit almost, like he's like processing that information still. He's a weird prospect, like you only had that one good year. Kyle Pitts was the star there. He was the number 2 there, but an electric guy with the ball in his hands. Like you want to get him the ball. I can like him in a scheme where you're going to do a lot of short, screens, intermediate passes, get the ball in his hands, and let him go that way. I want to see where he gets drafted. Is he a number 2 receiver? Our team's drafted. Like, is he going to fall into a situation where he's a number 3, and we know he's a number 3, which is going to limit some of his upside here as well. So, but he's interested. Better than I thought he would.
He'll definitely be used in kick returns and punt returns too.
Yep.
For sure. He's gonna come right into the NFL and be a punt returner, which is where he looked good there too. Because his vision's so good. He's so electric with the ball in his hands.
He is.
I think the upside for him though is just him getting NFL coaching, and I think what we'll know better about Toney is not in 2021, but the middle of like 2022.
If he can learn how to run a route, and I think kind of clean up some of that stuff, he could be electric, because all the athleticism is there.
He could turn it into something special. It's like, so where do you gamble there?
Yep.
And he turns into me more of a ceiling player than a player that I overly just love.
I don't know that I could take him in the first. I think he would have to be an early second round guy. For me.
I would take Trevor Lawrence ahead. There's no way he gets into the first for me. he's not even close to the first.
But he is
in one QB. I I think he's getting there.
I don't think so.
I think he's the guy that you feel really good taking a chance on in the second, though. Like the high upside, this guy could turn out to be a starter on my team going, for the next 5 or 6 years type of guy if he pans out.
It depends on he's the kind of guy you're debating between, like if one of these running back lands in a good spot, like a guy like Khalil Herbert lands in like a really good spot. You're like, oh, at 2-1, do I go Kadarius Toney or do I go Khalil Herbert? Well, it all depends where you did with 1-1, which is most likely Najee Harris or Travis. So you got to have a plan going into that draft because there is going to be some good receivers there. That's why my rankings have all 3 running backs up high. It's just because I can get a guy like Nico Collins, Kadarius Toney here. Who knows who else will be there? Then Terrace Marshall might be there at 2-1 as well. Another receiver I like. So Kadarius Toney, I think we're all on the same page on this guy at least. Let's move on to Shi Smith out of South Carolina, 5'10", 186 pounds. This was a guy that was, nothing overly great, but just a steady guy. Like he's gonna go out there week in, week out, and produce. His route running was okay. He played really tough. I saw him take some big hits.
Sure. Some big hits.
He took some of those. Good burst out of him.
He has like enough speed, I feel like, to operate in the NFL, but that's not great. Like you said, he is a very blah type of guy, like across the board.
I came away, like coming in, I was really excited to watch Shi Smith. He actually ended up with one of my lower scores. Like he's in the bottom 6 or 7 here.
I feel like NFL cornerbacks are going to just be able to
he's not going to be able to separate, I don't think.
He's not good for his jump balls.
Right.
Like the college cornerbacks kind of dictate where his routes were going a little bit. So I just felt like he seemed like he was a good receiver, but I just kept saying dude, I feel like if he played in the NFL,
I feel like he wants to be what Kadarius Toney is, but is not fast enough or twitchy enough to do it.
Correct.
Correct. So to me,
he didn't make people miss very often.
No, if you pressed him, he was like that. It was over. His whole route was over.
Yeah, I'm actually way out on him. Like
I'm with you. I'm way out on him as well.
And it's a bummer too because watching him in the Senior Bowl, there were some things that I liked when I saw him in the drills and things like that. And I think that's what he might be. He might be somebody that is pretty technically proficient, but I just don't think that there's just that enough athletic ability. Yeah. And you mix that with not being very big.
Right.
And those two things, you can be the most technically sound player in the world, but if you have no size and just okay athletic ability, it's just going to be tough to.
Are going to be an okay college wide receiver. Because he wasn't anything special.
On the deep balls, he was he didn't track the ball really well. Looking left, looking right. It just.
He led his team in receiving with 633 this past year. So it's just. I don't know. Not a lot of production there.
Ended up with a 65.3 for me.
I think he's a guy that's a name because he did produce. Again, I thought the production was there in college. Throughout his whole career, the production was there. But when you watch the tape, it's okay, he's a good college receiver for South Carolina. I don't see him being a dynasty fantasy football wide receiver you want on your roster.
So here's the deal. If he's sitting there in the 3rd round, I'm most likely going to try to take a high upside tight end or something like that over a guy like Shi Smith.
Yeah, a running back will be there.
Sure.
He's just somebody.
So he's not going to end up on a lot of my team, or probably any of my teams.
He would have to land up. He would have to land on a good situation for me to even consider him at the back end of the 3rd. It'd have to be he had to be a situation player going. Okay, can he be
There's
a
an
guy,
opening in the slot on this team.
Maybe he could be Sterling Shepard. You know what I mean? A year here and there, be a wide receiver 3 and produce that way. But I'm with you guys. I don't see it.
I think.
Well, where's all this debate?
I was going to say, I thought we were going to agree. I think it's
the next episode. Now that I look at who's actually in this episode, I think it's the next one we're going to fight a lot.
Join the nerder.
Listen, sometimes you can just sit here and shine these turds all day, but when you get to the bottom of it, they're still turds. And we're getting a little couple turds going on around here. Corn nugget. Grossing me out. Does anybody else want to talk about Shi Smith out of South Carolina and anything good that they really like out of him?
He was a team captain in 2020, so the team likes him. No, man. I honestly, you nailed it.
He got out of his cuts.
Our next speed. No, there's 2 guys we'll debate in this class. I'm looking back at it now and which one's in this group. There's 2 guys we'll debate.
I don't think we're going to debate much on that last one.
Really?
I think you think I have a higher opinion.
You said you liked him.
I just mentioned him.
He's my 2nd lowest score.
I'll say something about Shi.
All right,
let's hear it.
He's a turd.
Oh, there we go.
Oh my!
4.
Wow. 4 for 4.
Bait
All right.
switch.
All right, before we go on, we got to talk about a sponsor of ours, Reality Sports Online. Now, Reality Sports Online, you probably heard of this. You've been listening for a long time because when they launched, they started advertising with us, and they're back. And I'm sure most of you guys at this time have heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you guys tried it? I know I have, and I loved it. It's time to go see what all the buzz is about in the Dynasty community and check out Reality Sports Online. Free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is that it doesn't take any more than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction today. Because Reality Sports Online is an auction website. We get a lot of questions like, hey, do you have auction rankings? What do you think of auction leagues? People love them. If you do, there's not a better auction site in the world today to play Dynasty on than Reality Sports Online. If you like what you see, use the promo code NERDS. Then you get 10% off on your team or your league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. Make sure you use that promo code NERDS, save 10%, and you can do your first auction league today or start a new one with realitysportsonline.com.
Nice.
So you know what I just realized? I realized my mic was out like really far the whole time, and I was like leaning out the whole time. It should have been over here.
Now you got
So
yourself.
if I looked like
Get your act together.
hunchback for first half of the episode, that's why.
No one's watching you.
I was trying to figure out why I was having like a hard time seeing my screen is because I'm like trying to.
Everyone's just staring at Rich. It's
That's
fine.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
no one's even paying
Well,
attention.
everyone's listening to Rich. Everyone's staring at you.
Get out of here.
Come on.
You.
All right. So one of the things that drives me nuts though is people that are like, you know what? I've been in on this guy from day one. If you're one of those people that want to always brag about you were early, you were the first one there, the perfect place to go is predictionstrike.com. You can put your money where your mouth is. Go get one of these young guns. Go get one of these rookies that we're talking about. And you can buy and sell these players just like it's the stock market. It's a wonderful site. It's an even better app. That's my favorite part. And the best part is you can sign up with the promo code DYNASTY to receive $10 free with your first deposit of $20 or more. That's promo code DYNASTY for our friends at predictionstrike.com.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a lot of Nico Collins shares on predictionstrike.com. And I'm going to make some money.
And then
so rich.
will it lock in the price and tell you exactly how much you bought them for? Is it
Yeah.
just kind of like one of those stock market? Yeah, nice.
I'm up 3% on Sam Darnold.
Nice.
There you go.
After you
Should be higher.
Just
it'll go up once he starts
Yeah,
producing.
guys, go buy Sam Darnold. Drive the price up.
Hey, everybody, make me some money. So, yeah, get on. I think Prediction Strike is cool that way where you can actually like.
This seems
invest in
illegal
players.
for
Yeah.
some reason.
This sounds like something you shouldn't do.
This is not investment advice.
We are not real effective.
Do your own research.
Let's move on to some of the more of these receivers. Let's talk about Tyler Vaughns out of
Yeah.
USC. 6'2", 184 pounds. Now, this is a guy who's got the height, doesn't really got the muscle mass. But, you know, he was productive at USC.
He was.
Very consistent. He's third all time at USC in receptions. So he was a jump ball guy.
He was. Yeah,
Yeah.
he could go up and get it.
You go there, jump around, good body control, good sticky hands at times as well.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, when I watched him, I came away I felt like I was looking at a very solid receiver.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. To me, he's 6'2", 184 pounds. Like you said, he can go up and get the ball. I think he does well in that aspect. He's a pretty good route runner, and I feel like he's quicker than he is fast. I don't think he's got like that second gear to like kind of like he's not a burner in any sense. He's not overly physical though
At all.
184 pounds. The defenders can get into him, and I think he has trouble when guys are in tight coverage catching the ball. So that was like my big knock on the guy, and it's not like these guys are going to get slower and weaker at the next level. They're going to get faster and stronger. So I'm struggling a little bit to figure out if he's going to be able to separate and do the same kind of stuff against NFL corners that he was doing against college cornerbacks.
I mean, I think you nailed Tyler Vaughns to a T there. Doesn't play strong enough, doesn't play fast enough.
Yeah.
To succeed at the NFL level. It's a guy who can play receiver, but again, I mean, a wide receiver 5 on NFL roster, right there, like need injuries to get up there. Wide receiver 4.
See, I think this is the guy that we're going to differ on the most.
Okay.
I actually came away watching Tyler Vaughns and was really, really impressed. I think there were 2 things that I thought were overly impressive. Like the 2 things that I was most impressed with were, one, he was another guy that had great body control. Like he was always in control of what was going on, even in the air. He adjusted in the air really well, never flailing around, like always knew where he was, his awareness, all of that was on point. And I think the other thing is he has really, really good hands. He made the normal catches very well, but he could also make some of the spectacular catches. So those were the 2 things that I walked away from Tyler Vaughns and saying, like, this guy could be something. The interesting thing is, and I'm going to get chastised for saying this, and that's fine. I don't care.
I've already done it once. Go ahead.
You've already done it once. His game, I'm not saying he's as good as this guy. So please understand what I'm saying when I say this, because this is a poor man's version. But I think he's a poor man's version of the top wide receiver in this class in Devonta Smith.
Girl,
Very
what the hell did you just say?
Rich wasn't here when
He
I
wasn't here.
chastised
He
you.
wasn't here. Listen to
Did
me.
you say he's a poor man, Devontae Smith? Like how poor? Like Raggedy Ann?
Listen, we're talking about pretty tall receiver, underweight, right?
Very underweight.
I think he plays more physical than you guys do. He's not overly physical, but for what his weight would suggest, I think he has no problem going up, making contested catches, being physical enough at the catch point to bring the ball down over top of defenders. So I think he's more physical than he's getting credit for. I think he's a smooth route runner. I think he has really, really good hands. Like, I think he does a lot of the things that Devonta Smith does, just not as well as Devonta Smith does it. So that would explain the difference of Devonta Smith getting an 80.85 and him getting a 73.5 for me.
See, I thought his route running was okay. I saw him round off some routes here and there. I thought he had like some trouble getting separation a lot of the time because of that, because his routes were like just okay. I think his hands are okay, but I feel like some of the better cornerbacks were able to like handle him pretty well and actually get the ball out of his hands. I don't think he was just strong enough there as well. I love my highlight as well. The guy's leaping ability and his body control is his best asset. That's why I literally have that highlighted. He has when he does there, he has good hands in that situation. I literally have those 2 things highlighted.
Yeah,
those are my number 1 things besides being 3rd all time in USC history for receptions and was very productive. But when I go to like. You say poor man's Devontae Smith. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
He's not nearly as good with the ball in his hand as Devontae Smith. I think
the yards after the catch, Devonta Smith's much better.
I mean, I think that's like the largest differentiation between the 2. But I think
their route running's a large difference.
I was going to say,
I mean, he's a great, but remember that it's all of the same type of attributes. It's just a little bit less. Like,
I think it's a lot less. I think it's a lot less in a few of those areas. And I think contested catches is one of the ones that's a big differentiation between the 2.
And I think the reason he had,
I think he does.
I think the problem, like
catches.
He had to deal with so many contested catches, and why it's a strong suit is because you couldn't separate. I think he was forced in those situations. I think everything's short and underneath. Like he wasn't that good at either. Like he
had quite a few catches downfield for some long touchdowns.
That was the thing.
Fine,
getting downfield. I think when he was able to stack, stem and stack and get the DB between him and the quarterback.
Right.
I think he's great at tracking the ball and going, and grab and making those kind of catches. Yeah. It's when a guy has like a hand on him or gets, because he's 185 pounds. Like
there's a small percentage of that.
He can be moved off the ball. He's just, I don't know. I'm kind of.
I'm in on Tyler Vaughns. He's at.
If you're in, I'm like I got a toe in maybe.
I'm not out.
Yeah, I have like a toe in on this guy.
I wouldn't mind taking him like mid third. Like I think it's a long shot for him to be like dynasty good. Like I think he'd play in the NFL for sure.
Yeah,
but again, I'm not
an NFL player.
I'm not looking for guys that can play in the NFL. I'm looking for guys that can help my dynasty team. You know what I mean? Like I'm not overly sure Tyler Vaughns is going to be someone that's going to help my dynasty team or like he'll be. I can easily see Tyler Vaughns being a guy who does just enough where like he's a roster clogger, right? Like he's on your team, but you're never going to start him, and you don't want to cut him because he's just good enough where like you might need him here and there.
I think he has more upside than you guys do.
Okay.
I think he's got very, very good hands. I think a team looking for somebody that can be a really good possession receiver, I think he could do that, and then I think he can make a spectacular play here and there throughout a game. So. I have him. Yeah. I am currently as my wide receiver 11. So it's not that he's crazy super high, but he's at the top
hairs here because he might end up at like wide receiver 13 for me. Like I haven't rated him out yet, but I could easily see him from what I've seen out of these other guys. He could easily end up as like wide receiver 13, 14. But like even at that, I'm with Matt. Like I'm shooting for like now we're in we're way ahead of like all the running backs are like Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert. Gluteus Minimus,
all those guys are ahead of him.
all ahead of them. I'm taking all the tight ends ahead of them. Some of the quarterbacks are coming up to the board.
So I know you guys haven't ranked him. So here's a couple guys that he is ahead of at the moment that would be probably not consensus. I like him a little bit more than Terrace Marshall. We'll get to Terrace Marshall next week.
Wow.
I don't really like Terrace Marshall.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
I have him slightly higher than Dwayne Eskridge.
I go either way on that one.
Yeah.
You guys haven't done Tamori and Terry yet either, so I have him ahead of Tylan Wallace.
A lot of ums over here.
I mean, I think him and Wallace
crushing it.
I think him and Wallace.
I'm trying to read.
I think Wallace will end up ahead of him in my ranks. Just based off of what we've done so far. So I don't know. I guess Vaughns, you're obviously a little bit higher than I am, and Rich is.
I like him.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
All right.
Okay, moving on to Warren Jackson. Speaking of high,
hey,
this guy's head's in the clouds. He's 6'6".
6'6",
219 pounds. Warren Jackson out of Colorado State, former college of the late great Vincent Jackson.
Oh, that's right.
There you go.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that. I forgot Vincent Jackson went there.
Yeah, he did. Okay. I was a big fan of Vincent Jackson.
I know.
Big fan. I remember he ran that the Gauntlet.
The Gauntlet. You fell in love.
And I was like, if we did a podcast then, I would have been all over the Vincent Jackson train.
Yep.
I was like, this guy, remember our rookie draft? Like, this guy is going to be good at college. He ended up going to second round. I was just watching the combine. I was like, he went to second round. I was like, I didn't think he'd go second round. This guy at Colorado State, but I watched his combine. This guy's going to for sure be good.
Yeah.
I drafted him in our rookie draft.
Michael Gallup didn't he go to Colorado State too?
We're talking about the late, great Vincent Jackson. Stop trying
thinking
to
of other receivers
his
that went
legacy,
there.
Garrett. God.
Rashard
dang.
Higgins.
Yeah, I was going to say Hollywood Higgins. Definitely.
Yeah, there was quite a few receivers that went there.
None of them good as Vincent Jackson.
Preston Williams.
It's just like a wide receiver factory.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Is anybody better than Vincent Jackson?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're known for producing receivers. That's the point I'm trying to prove.
Okay, and I'm known for producing podcasts every Wednesday.
No, that's Jared that produces them. That's Jared that produces them.
Yeah, dick.
Oh, talking on podcasts every Wednesday. I produced them for 6 years. Okay, buddy. Well, producing, I hit record, stop, and then publish. That was my extent of it. But we're talking about Warren Jackson out of Colorado State from the late great Vincent Jackson, and he's 6'6", 219 pounds. And he's got really good hands.
This is a guy that I feel like looks like AJ Green, right? Like from a body standpoint.
Oh, but he can't run AJ Green routes.
He's not as good as AJ Green. I just wanted to put that out there.
Hey, the word to describe Warren Jackson is lumbering.
Yeah.
But he's got really good hands.
He does have good hands.
And he can move. Like for a guy being 6'6", he has a huge wingspan.
Over 81 inches.
Yeah, doesn't drop footballs at all. He could track the ball pretty well. It's weird because I don't really see him be doing anything in the NFL because he's just not a good enough route runner and his speed's not good enough.
Right.
But like for a guy at 6'6", like he's a pretty solid college football receiver.
He is. He's an odd one because I think laterally he's not. He's not there. He's not there. He doesn't have the lateral. I think quickness that you need
at
the NFL level. But like you said, I think in situations, he could be a situational guy that somebody brings in is like, hey, this guy, go get me 5 yards for a first down, or go into the back of the end zone. I could throw you
a red zone.
Yeah, he could be that guy.
Inside the 20, he could probably
I feel like the
productive.
NFL has kind of moved away from that as a skill set that's like useful. So I'm not really sure like where he's going to really fit in.
There's a guy in the next episode, that similar body type size thing, that I would much rather have over Warren Jackson.
I totally agree. So I watched Warren Jackson first, and I was like, okay, he's got something. And then we watched this other guy that you're talking about. I have a feeling I know who it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, he just does everything better.
Yeah, it's the same style of player, same kind of guy. He's just smoother, you know.
The only thing good about him is like that fact that he is slow is that, you know, the defensive back's on him, but he can handle it because he's so big.
Oh, he's great at the contested catches.
You could throw it up to him pretty much while he's covered, and he'll go and get it. I mean,
like
he's
a slower Colin Johnson.
I thought of Colin Johnson.
A less athletic Colin Johnson.
I actually thought of Colin Johnson when I was watching him. That's kind of what I saw, is just a big lumbering guy that could go up and get it if he had to, but you're not really worried about him ever being a factor on your fantasy football team.
And for a guy that's 6'6" and that we're referring to as lumbering, normally we'd be having the conversation like, hey, if they convert this guy to tight end. But he doesn't look like, to me, like he doesn't look like he has the frame to put on another 40 pounds or 30 pounds. That
he wasn't good. He was not good at blocking in a run game.
I'm just saying like that's the normal conversation we'd have.
Okay,
like, hey, this
about
is
that kind of guy.
This is about this kind of guy. I just don't think that he has the kind of frame to put it on.
He's fun. He's got good enough hands and good enough size for me, Warren Jackson. Where like if I'm in the 5th round,
yeah, sure, yep.
I could see myself ending up with a lot of Warren Jackson fans. Like
he does something well. Like there's something you can hang your hat on, and in the 5th round, a lot of the times that's all you kind of need. Just one upside thing. Like, hey, this guy could be this because you know he does this well.
Contested catches, good size, really good hands. Like I just came really like for a guy
he scored
of his
a ton
size,
of touchdowns.
Yeah, I came away really impressed with his hands
and his routes.
And
his routes for a guy that can't. He's not very bursty laterally. He still moves pretty well for a guy that's 6'6" and
his
can get
top
in and
end
out.
speed is not bad. There's not much burst like accelerate. He's not getting to that point very quickly, but his top end speed isn't gross.
Right.
All right, let's move on to our next receiver, our last receiver from the show. Then we're gonna go black. We're gonna finish with Tariq Black out of Texas, 6'3", 215 pounds, ran a 4.53 at his pro day. Ran a really impressive 3-cone for his size, a 6.91 3-cone. And this is a guy who transferred out of Michigan. Good size, good hands, but, I mean, no burst, 1-speed runner, average at best.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of those weird prospects. I felt like I thought he was a little bit, for his size, he moved well and ran some pretty crisp routes. I mean, they weren't spectacular. But I think he was able to at least get a little bit of separation. So I guess this is the guy that we're all going to disagree on here because Garrett, it looks like he's about to vomit over there. But
yeah.
I feel like he's at least a physical player. What concerns me is obviously he was an underused guy at Michigan, and then as a grad transfer goes to Texas. Really, he starts one game. The first game there, he had 5 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown.
Hey.
And you're thinking, hey, maybe this is good. And then it was 1 catch per game.
He was consistently
1 catch for the next
1 catch.
6 games.
As I
One
said,
catch.
you watch
So
the
he got
tape, like, what the hell am I watching?
He got completely phased out. I don't know what the heck. So it throws up red flags. Like, what is this guy? What is this? What are his practice habits? What's causing him? Because I think he does have some athleticism and I mean, just a little bit of route running chops. And he's a physical guy. I mean, he's 6 foot, almost 3. 215 pounds, so he's a big guy, and there's
former
not
basketball guy.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I didn't know that, but I think it makes sense just watching him play. So there's enough there that it intrigues me, but there's also the red flags which worry me. So I know why you probably don't like him, and you're probably like, whatever.
I'm not intrigued in the least bit.
Right, but I just think there's at least a little bit of athlete, and he's 23 years old, by the way, too.
Oh, by the way, he's also really old.
Maybe his grandkids will draft him.
That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
the lack of production is obviously concerning, but even watching him play, like, he didn't get off the line particularly well for a big guy, like you would think with like his strength and ability. He didn't get off the line all that well. His hands are kind of suspect.
I thought his hands were okay.
I thought his hands were okay. That was I thought he was pretty good at running routes, and I thought his hands were okay. I thought he was
a hands catcher. Yeah, I thought his hands were okay. It's just he never got to use them.
His catch to drop ratio is not that great.
Well, listen, he had Shea Patterson throwing him the ball at Michigan, and what's Sam
Ellinger?
Sam Ellinger, the guy at Texas. And neither one of those guys are.
I saw several drops between Michigan, and I saw one at Texas in his 11 catches or 10 catches.
Yeah, this guy's tape was so boring. I gave up so quickly.
That's the thing. Like I powered through actually more games than I would have liked, and even like for somebody that big,
I thought he was just like a decoy.
That's the thing. Like,
I'm watching a decoy.
There's
here.
not like a lot of yards after the catch. There's
not
like a ton of burst. I don't know. I didn't like Tariq Black at all. Maybe I was in a bad mood. I don't know, but I didn't like him at all.
And like you said, I think you thought I liked him more than I did when I was like, hey, this guy's just kind of like, because he's nothing special. I don't love him by any means, so it's not like a big disagreement here.
Sure.
I think I see a little spark where you see nothing, and that's it. Like I just see I see a little spark, and that's
somebody's getting a Valentine's Day card.
There's a spark.
That's it for these receivers. Let's talk about some more receivers in the Nerd episode because there's some good guys to talk about the Nerd. We're going to lead off with Rondale Moore. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Rondale Moore, join the Nerd Herd. Never better time than ever to join the Nerd Herd. There's so much to offer there at the Nerd Herd. You get the Nerd Score. You get the rankings. You get the you get the Dynasty GM. You get so much with the Dynasty Nerds Nerd Herd membership here and the bonus podcast.
You only get the GM with the Nerd Herd and GM membership. Don't go selling things that we're not selling.
Yes, you can buy it all. And you got to lock in now because the prices go up and we have this new tool coming out. Who knows what that could be?
Other things.
Who knows what that
Who knows what it's going to be? But yeah, you want to join that now. We have so much good stuff going on DynastyNerds.com. And of course, our YouTube channel as well. Get to our YouTube. If you want to see, you think I talk stupid? Well, wait till you look at me do it. Even worse. You can see all of that at YouTube on our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, notification button because we're there. We have all kinds of good content. Garrett's out here doing interviews with all the biggest names in the industry, feeling what kind of their favorite books, their movies, and if they like chocolate or not. So Garrett's figuring that stuff out. Go check that out on YouTube. That's it. I mean, there's so much
important
going
stuff
on.
right there, man.
That is.
If you don't like chocolate,
I was going to say, does anybody not like chocolate?
I don't
pretty
like
much
chocolate.
don't. I pretty much don't trust you if you don't like chocolate.
I don't like chocolate. I like chocolate cake. I think chocolate.
Wait, what? You don't like chocolate?
No, I like chocolate cake.
What about like with chocolate with stuff?
I
like Reese's.
See, I always say Reese's is 95% peanut butter.
Yeah, that's not even true. It's half and half.
What?
Just bite into one and look at it.
I've been into many in my life.
They're delicious. I don't care what the percentage breakdown is.
Definitely.
I love chocolate cake. I think chocolate syrup
care.
is gross. I think chocolate ice cream is the
chocolate
worst.
Syrup is gross?
Yes. I think chocolate ice cream is the worst ice cream ever invented by mankind.
These are bad takes.
These are really bad.
Yeah.
Strong takes. I think Hershey Kisses, gross. I think
pop those things all day long.
Hershey bars, solid chocolate, gross. White chocolate, not bad.
White chocolate is disgusting.
That's racist.
You're racist. But like even like a Snickers bar, I can only eat like the Halloween bite-sized ones. I can only eat that. Then it's too much.
Wow.
I like Reese's, but Reese's again, 1 cup, not 2 cups. Give me the one.
And I could
serving.
eat like 18 cups
For sure.
Well,
you ever had like the fast break bars?
Oh,
those are delicious.
Fast break. What are those?
It's a Reese's like candy bar.
Oh, sounds okay. Anything with Reese's I like. People are like, oh, I don't like chocolate, but you like Reese's. I'm like, dude, it's 90% peanut butter. When you say it's half and half,
50-50.
it's foolish. 50-50?
It's 50. That's what half is.
Dude, the chocolate.
Thank you for the math lesson.
The chocolate covering a Reese's is like Devontae Smith hugging peanut butter. It's very thin. Very thin. Not a lot going on.
But it's literally all the way around.
Thin.
Like it's surrounding
You probably
it.
like Nutella too, right?
Yeah, Nutella's good.
Gross.
Sure, it's not Tyler Vaughns hugging.
Could be him too.
Could be him too.
But
that would be an
chocolate ice cream,
off-brand Reese's
You know
cup.
what's weird?
That would be like,
I love chocolate cake. I love it. I like it a lot. It's really good. Yeah.
Now, are you
And
talking the cake
frosting.
chocolate with like chocolate frosting?
Yeah.
Or vanilla cake with chocolate frosting?
Oh, when I want that cake, I want the darkness. I want the chocolate cake. I want the chocolate
So wait,
frosting.
do you like dark chocolate?
No.
Dark chocolate's even better.
See, I love dark chocolate.
Yeah, dark chocolate's better than milk.
I don't know.
I don't know
just
about better, but I like both.
All right. I don't know. What's dark? What? Give me a dark chocolate item.
Dark
Usually,
chocolate.
I was gonna say usually you just eat it straight up. Like there's not. It's not usually with a lot of stuff.
Oh no, I like
'Cause it's a little more bitter.
chocolate covered coffee beans. Those are good.
That's dark chocolate.
Yeah, that's good.
Chocolate covered raisins.
Yeah.
Not bad. Raisinets you're talking about?
Just chocolate covered raisins.
They're called Raisinets, Jared.
I don't know.
It's the name brand. Some of us can't afford that.
I buy them
Rich.
from my
All right.
country.
Yeah, I really like dark chocolate covered coffee beans.
See, I don't like coffee, so
Espresso beans.
What?
All right,
See?
let's get out of here.
All right.
No, this is a serious debate.
We've been going on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, because chocolate ice cream is gross.
at least we did it at the end. All right.
Yeah,
Tune out if you don't like
Do you ever
chocolate.
melt chocolate and use? Never mind.
that's
Chocolate
really gross.
chocolate chip cookies.
Oh no, say
Chocolate chip cookies.
That's
with a little amount of chocolate and it gotta be super fresh. You know what's really gross? Chocolate milk.
What?
Wow.
Chocolate milk is delicious.
I'm cutting your mic off.
Too chocolate.
You can control how much chocolate syrup you put in it if it's too chocolate.
Do you like strawberry milk?
It's okay.
I cut his mic off.
Good.
I like chocolate milk if you make it yourself and you put a little bit of chocolate. You buy it from the store, it's way too chocolate. It's
Trying to
nasty.
make out with me. Oh, go away. Get off my microphone.
All right, we'll be back next week finish up these rookie wide receivers. We're going to lead off with Jalen Waddle. Can't wait.
Waddle baby,
I can't wait
waddle
to dig
baby,
in.
waddle baby, waddle.
Back next week.
Adios.